Good evening, people. Welcome to Reaching Out with Eddie. Hey, I hope everybody had an enjoyable 4th of July weekend. My family had a family reunion in Birmingham, Alabama. I did not go to it, but my sister talked about it, and from what I understand is they had a great time. I think that had it been in Meridian, I wouldn't have had any choice but to go to it. And but they had a good time, and while I was supportive monetarily, meaning that I bought T-shirts and things like that, I did not go to it. I just did not, people grieve a different kind of way, and some people different. I'm kind of like, I isolate myself, and I don't just go and I don't just like to kind of like go. How you doing, Richard?
Pretty good.
Yeah, Richard, I just don't like to really do a lot of going and things like that. It's kind of like the light going out. No, for as me being depressed, yes, I probably am, and probably, sleeping sometime and not sleeping sometime, going through all that. And, of course, anytime I go on Facebook and see my daughter, that throws me into a tailspin. I'm able to contain my emotions most of the time, meaning that the tears doesn't run down my face, but for as my soul is actually screaming. And of course, that's something that I'm gonna have to deal with, and something that I'm going to have to, process. And while I appreciate anybody saying anything, I still gotta process that. Today's show is titled "The Rabbit Hole." And I guess the reason why I call it the rabbit hole is because if you remember Alice in Wonderland, she went down the rabbit hole and things were really, really different, and it really took some doing for her to get out of that rabbit hole. And I like to say that we've been on a rabbit hole right here in Meridian, Mississippi for a long, long time, especially during the previous administration. And, it's a lot of things I could say is that I've always supported the mayor. And I'm not mad at Jimmy Smith. I got to say that to you guys. I'm not angry at him. And if you guys out there are angry, I just got to say this is that this is what you voted for. You did not vote. Mr. Smith never gave anybody a platform. He never promised any of you what he was going to do. Now, when I say you, now I'm not saying that he didn't promise something to everybody, because it's obvious, like what happened Tuesday. If you went to Tuesday City Council meeting, the governing authority, I got to say this. Before I get into that, I want to tell you that Samson Jackson, he resigned. And his seat, House Senate seat number 32, is available for office. So that meaning that if you're a citizen of the state of Mississippi for 4 years, and you're a citizen in District 2 for 2 years, then you're able to run, and you're a qualified elector, meaning that you've been registered to vote for at least 30 days, then you can run for that office. Now, let me tell you a little bit about that seat and what it entails. Now, it's parts of Choctaw County, Noxubee County, Kemper County, and Lauderdale County. Basically, the parts of the counties that it went into, at least 62% of the people are the black populace that are registered voters. So meaning that it actually was created so that you can put a black representative in there. But if we continue doing what we're doing, creating seats for black folks, it's just not going to work if you don't turn out to vote and you don't go and vote. And it pays $23,500 a year. I know with some of you out there saying that's not any money, but the per diem is $151 per day. So if they go to the State House and they stay there 10 days, that's $15,100. You understand? So you can see how that is pretty lucrative. Now, that's the monetary part of it. I'm not talking about stamps and maybe putting up, I don't know any of that. So it's got to be a reason that it definitely ain't the $23,000. It's the amount of money that they can make when they do go to Jackson and they stay up there. Anytime they go to Jackson, they get paid $150 a day. Sure, so it's pretty good. So if you think you're qualified, then if you're gonna run as a Democrat or a Republican, the filing fee is $15 through. If you're gonna run as an independent, then you don't have to pay a filing fee, but you have to go out and get 50 registered voters from that district, District 32. Now I'm gonna go back to what happened Tuesday at Tuesday City Council meeting. I didn't go there, but I've seen the video. And I've heard a lot of people come back and tell me things. First of all, I want to say good evening to all of you out there. The governing authority, which is your 5 city council members, I've always harped upon how the governing authority is the ones that actually governs the city of Meridian. Now, Randall Jennings and I had a difference in that. You have a strong mayoral form of government. That's bull. As long as you have a governing authority, then that means that you're going to need 3 votes. The mayor, this city council here showed the previous city council on what they should have done. But they gave Percy Bland every single thing that he wanted to the detriment of this city. This governing authority here is off to a good start. It's one thing that they did that I don't agree upon, and I'm going to tell you why I would not have agreed upon it. They agreed to make George Thomas the president of the city council. No, no, no. And then let's just talk about some of the things that some of you out there say and some of the city council members say. Okay, let's talk for black folks. I don't see color. Wow. Okay. Clever cliche. Very political correct, but it's bullshit. Okay. Some of my best friends are black. Another clever cliche, but again, it's bullshit. I'm so tired of white folks telling me I'm not prejudiced because some of my best friends are black. I'm so tired of black folks telling me I don't see color. Well, what the hell is going on when you have all these white folks that's in charge of Negroes? What's going on with that? That is very disturbing. What are you telling your children? Some of you out there still have children. What is it that you're telling your child when you have an opportunity to put a black person in a position of authority, but you don't do so, you put a white person there? What are you telling the young folks when you take an old person such as Ed Skipper and make him CAO and pay him $100,000 a year? He doesn't have any experience. So some of you out there saying, I don't see color. We're not going to look at this thing from a color perspective. We're going to hire the most qualified person. Then what are you doing when you hire Ed Skipper, who has never been a CAO, who has a degree from 40 years ago in accounting? You're not giving us the most experienced person for that job. Yes, Brenda Latimer is experienced. I got to say that. But if we going to do better, if we're going to bring different folks on board, if we're going to keep the same people that's been there all the time to help create this quagmire bull, then why did we bring somebody new up on board? I'm so proud of the governing authority. Each of you have a bright future in government if you continue to do what you do. George Thomas should not be president. Now, I'm just going to say this thing. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone. Now, anybody can die any day. Am I right or wrong, Richard?
It's true.
Did I say anything wrong, Dice? No. Okay, let's suppose that, the Bible promises us what? 70. That's 70 years. Anything after that is a given, folks. So if you die before your 70 years is up, that equates to not living a good life or in sometimes doing something that you should not have done. So such as my mama living to be 87 years old. Now, my mother lived 17 years on borrowed time. She borrowed somebody else's time. No, she didn't. She was a good person, so she lived that long, folks. And so I got to say this to say that at any time, our current mayor could die. He could. If he died, then the council president, George Thomas, become the president, become the mayor of this city until they have a special election. See, you got to think long term. You can't be thinking short term. And then qualification, he don't have any damn qualification. He have qualification to teach your children in school or in college. But he don't have any. If you're going to look at his report card, that's an indictment against his ass. He should not have been reelected. We keep not putting the most qualified people in position of authority. If we keep doing that, we still in this rabbit hole, folks. We're not doing what we need to do in order to be okay. But you know what? Jimmy Smith is okay. George Thomas is okay. I'm okay. Richard, you're okay. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
But our children are not okay. The children, all the shooting around here is not okay. Why would you reappoint a police chief that's here under all this bull? That's not doing better, Mayor Smith. That's not doing better now. And I'm not beating up on you. I'm taking what you did. Yes, it's in my handwriting too, Bill. I'm taking what you did, and I'm talking about what you're doing. Oh, I heard some of you say, I seen your eyes get big. You're shocked. You shouldn't be shocked. What you should do is look in the mirror and say, I've been a fool. I'm an ignorant-ass person. Something as important as a vote. I didn't even do it, or either I did not know what this man was selling. How is it that, Mayor Smith, I'm talking to you now, and the young lady that got upset at me, this is what I was talking about. Knowing what it is that you're going to get for your vote. There's nothing wrong if a person won't tell you what they're going to do when they get in office. They obviously have a hidden agenda.
True.
Richard, there's something wrong with I ain't seen Sherry Berry in 8 years. She has not been to a city council meeting since she been kicked out of office. But she was in there Tuesday. There's something wrong with that, folk. Ed Skip ain't been back there since he lost his job. But he's there now, want another job. Ed Skipper got to be Can I tell my story?
Go ahead.
Two bells said don't do that. Ed Skipper got to be at least 8 or 9 years old. Hell, he got more money than anybody. They'll get it, but they want to give him $100,000 nourishment. Y'all hear this, don't you, governing authority? You cannot do that and say you being fat of this city. We did not elect you to do that. We elect you to do your job, to listen at these people, listen at your constituency, and not take us down there saying, if you do this, you're taking us deeper into the rabbit hole. And we've already lost over 6,000 people from this previous administration. George Thomas should not, Dwayne Davis should be the council president. After him, Tybell Lindsay should be council president. After her, Joe Norwood Jr. should be council president. After him, then Ramonda Walker should be council president. So if this black mayor was to die in any of them 4 years, we're going to have a black person ready to step in and lead this city like it ain't never been led before. We do not need George Thomas leading us nowhere. George Thomas, you should have took your behind home. It don't make any sense for you to be 85 years old still looking out. Look, folks, let me tell y'all something. Ramonda Walker, I'm talking to you. Tybell Lindsay, I'm talking to you. Dwayne Davis, I'm talking to you. Joe Norwood Jr., I'm talking to you. Damn it, if you want to learn something from George Thomas, look at his ass and see how he look out for his own kind. Look how he do everything for his folks, white folk. Damn it, you don't see color, but he see it. And smiling at your ass like you're a fool because you saying that. Boy, I hear Marie Franklin saying, calm down, Hope, and stop all. I hear Ms. Nazel Barfield say, calm down and stop all that cursing, son. Yes, ma'am, I will. I'm trying, but this here is bad. This is what we talked about, Richard. Yeah. Richard, what you got to say about all this?
The way I look at it is, I want to go back to Egypt. That's our problem. You were set free from a situation that you had in your past. Now you want to go back to what you got away from. This is what's killing you. As a nation, as a country, it's killing you. I watch a lot of history, and I see the same type of tricks and game. That word trick or treat, and that's what it's all about. You're going to either get tricked or you're going to get a treat. And most of the time, it's a trick. You don't know this, but that's just the way it works. It's always worked that way. And one thing is it's your attitude. People mostly look at your attitude, how you conduct yourself. Has nothing to do with who you are. It's your attitude makes a big difference in the position that you get. I've always been in position like this. When I go to a job, they see what I do and what I'm capable of doing. Do I take orders or instruction? And that's how I move up in positions.
That's right. And folks, and what Richard said is true. And we got to, and they talking about leaving Laura Carmichael as community development and paying her $76,500. She already had a job at Anderson, so what I'm hearing is she's not going to take that job now because obviously the new mayor is going to keep her on. Talking about we can do better, vetting each candidate. We vetted their ass on the 27th. We vetted them when we voted you in, Mayor Smith. We vetted them when we got rid of Percy Bland. Do you understand that? And let's talk about, I gotta say this about Kim Burner Houston. She didn't even get 1,000 votes citywide. That ought to tell you something. For you to bring her, to have her show anybody anything is a disrespect to this city, and it's a disgrace. It is totally disrespectful. Bringing Ed Skipper on as CAO, I can understand if you was going to bring him across as the chief financial officer, because that's what he got 30 years experience doing. But hell, how about Ed Skipper just keep his ass at home? He doesn't have experience, so you're going to take Tim Miller, who used to be a fire chief, but was Sherry Berry CAO, who's going to probably train him on what to do. What? We're going to pay Tim Miller $93,000. Firemen don't hardly do shit anyway. We don't have 5 fires a year. But we're going to pay him almost $100,000 a year basically to do nothing. Why are we rewarding these folks? I know that Ed Skipper live inside the city. I know that Dustin Markham live inside of the city. But I want to know where, I know that Chris Reed don't. He wasn't even able to vote for you, Jimmy. How is it that you're going to listen to Sherry Berry ain't but one vote if she's any vote at all? We got rid of her ass more than 8 years ago. Brandon Latterman, now I don't like some of the things she did, but she's qualified to be where she is, and if she stay on there, she deserves every $85,000 that they give her, and she's qualified to be in that position. Brandon, you know I don't like you, but the truth is the truth. Now I got to talk about Hugh Smith and Public Works. Now that ain't fair at all. I don't care much for Hugh Smith because they wouldn't even put my ward out there. And they ain't done a lot of things with roads and bridges around here. But Hugh Smith is qualified to be in the position he's in. But I got a real serious problem bringing anyone in because they have an engineering degree. Especially a white Republican from Madison County who only was on the job 8 months and resigned in March. You mean to tell me that these peoples are so clever? Is this a rigged election? It cannot be a rigged election. But if he resigned in March when Jimmy Smith wasn't on the job yet, he had not even run the primary yet. So that means he resigned because he was either incompetent or it was too much for him to do. And we're going to pay him well, hold on, let me look at it. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get it. I got his name on here somewhere. I think, yeah, Doug Stevens, public safety, $78,000. Now that's Doug Stevens, public safety. They need to do away with that. Look at public safety. Let's talk about public safety. On 35th Street, on 12th Avenue Park, in front of Mayor Smith's house, they were doing digging there. And because they were digging there, they ruptured a gas line. So Tubell said he was smelling gas all over by his house, and he lived on State Boulevard. Now, that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. But the point of it is, if this was public safety, why didn't they evacuate those homeowners right there in that area? We're talking about gas. Hold up. How about somebody competent? Anybody tell you that before you do any digging? Tubell just wrote this down and told me this. Before you do any digging anywhere, you got to bring those peoples out there and identify underground cables, that's water lines, gas line, telephone lines. You got to come out and identify those. I think gas is yellow or orange. Water is blue. And whatever other, it could be red, white, and blue, but they didn't do that. They just started digging. So what happened to public safety? So now you want to keep this guy on who's ignorant as hell, and you want to pay that. I just think you need to do away with that and absorb that into the police department. Mayor Smith, you said we can do better. If we going to do better, we cannot do things the same way. If we going to do better, we got to come out of the rabbit hole. We cannot go deep into the rabbit hole. It can't be just about you and big name donors. You understand what I'm saying, Richard? You mean to tell me that all I had to do was donate $5,000 or $10,000 to anybody's campaign and they win mayor, then I can get what I want? That's not fair to anybody out there. It's not fair and it's not legal, Richard. It's not legal. You don't supposed to be able to buy an office.
Most people have always used their money for power control. Always. Big money for power control. Always been that way.
And it should not be that. And I got to talk about Trent Posey. Want to keep Trent Posey. Another mayor Republican. Park and Rec, $72,000 a year, Tubell. So we want to take somebody who has a degree in computer. He's a computer geek. That's what he always done. So governing authority, I'm talking to you. Do your job. Your job, they can meet with you, but they supposed to bring their curricula vitae or their resume to you before the full city council and let you guys determine whether or not they are qualified. If they are not qualified, then you supposed to vote no. If you want this city to do better, you got to bring us out of the rabbit hole. It's obvious that our current mayor is and Jimmy, I say this in all respect, man, that you know we did not vote for you before because you had this arrogant attitude, this arrogant way about yourself. You was like a parent that did not want to listen to a child when a child is, hey, Dad, hey, Mom, my feet, these shoes are too little for me. And you were, I just bought them shoes. I ain't buying none right now. Keep them shoes on, but Dad, I'm crying. I can't walk in these shoes. I don't care about any of that, but Dad, I need some new shoes. Dad, you got plenty of money. I don't want to hear that. And see little Susie right across the street. Hey, little Susie, I got these shoes here. My son don't need them. My daughter don't need them. Come get these shoes. I done paid $2,000 or $3,000 for them. You understand my point? I'm metaphorically speaking to point out a situation that's wrong with your psyche, Mel Smith. It's something wrong with your psyche. You told us that you weren't going to tell us. When you say you weren't going to tell us what you, and you did not. You didn't tell us. You didn't tell black folks what you do, but I seen you go into Sherry Berry's office downtown. Not her office, her husband, where Dustin Markham used to work at. See, these are the kind of things, folks, that I was talking about prior to the election. That's the reason why I voted for Western Lindemann, because Western Lindemann, I tried. Jimmy, I wanted to vote for you. I helped you got in the runoff. I helped you get out of that with Percy Bland. Me and my family did. And I wanted to vote for you, Jimmy, but my vote is for sale. I kept saying that. I wanted you to tell me what you was going to do, but you didn't show me enough respect to come and tell me or any of us what you was going to do, but you obviously met in silence with white GOP, white Republicans, and told them what you was going to do. The evidence of that is that the people that you put forth to be confirmed as your department head. And it does not make any sense for you to bring this guy on, his name Hodge. His name is David Hodges, and pay him the kind of money that you're talking about, and you're going to get rid of Hugh Smith and bring David Hodges from Madison County, who only done this, and some of you talking about he has an engineering degree. Well, my nephew, he's in Orlando, Florida, and he's a black man, and he's doing this now. Yes, his last name is Hope. My point out is a lot of people got degrees, but that don't make them qualified. You got to look at their qualification. You got to vet a candidate, and having a degree is not evidence that you can do the job. The evidence that David Hodges cannot do the job is the fact that he was fired in Madison County. You think he going to leave Madison County paying him a whole lot more than that? That's the reason why Mayor Smith want to give him more money. Bring him on board. What, to go and take out bonds? We got some what you got to say to the people, Richard?
In the first place, you got a city where you only have like so many thousand people. To me, you should never be able to pay more on what you're bringing in from your people. You have to raise everything to take from them to give to someone else, which is not good. Because why? You making me pay more taxes when I shouldn't have to, because the population keep dropping. It's never good. You pay according to what your population can produce. If you don't do that, you're actually taking the people money and put them into a bondage situation.
That's right. And I want to say this, there's no way that Chris Reed is qualified to even be a police officer. There's no way he's qualified, because look at all the things that done happened with Levi Gibbs, with Gary Barber, with Hardy, Davon Hardy being killed by white folk. And then look at, I got to ask you this, Mayor Smith, did you know that you inherited the lawsuit for racial discrimination from Percy Bland, and you doing worse than he's doing? Man, you could fix this. Rita Jackson's your neighbor. She's your neighbor. Not just today. Y'all been neighbors for a long time. You can pass by this woman and look her in the face while she's being discriminated against. If you don't care anything about her, you got to care about what's right. Now, you can't be a leader if you don't care about what's right. You can't be a leader if you're going to bring city workers to work on your property, and that's not legal, basically, in my opinion. So did you become mayor for the perks? Did you become mayor so that you can reward your big money donors? Well, that's what you showing us. Now, I'm going to tell you what I heard, too, and this disturbed me. And I don't know whether it's true too, Bill, but I heard this, Richard. I heard this, and I don't know whether it's true or not. And I argued about it, Richard. I said, there's no way I'm going to believe that. I was told even before Jimmy Smith won the primary that him and Sherry Berry talked and they was going to keep Chris Reed. And a white person told me that. Someone that's in the know. And that he was going to keep Chris Reed. And I also was told that Jimmy Smith and Sherry Berry met and that they was going to do all they can to get me and Lolo bound over to the grand jury. I just said, I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that. But damn, when you see that Chris Reed is being confirmed, damn, he's being rewarded for all the wrongdoing that he's done. So it make me suspect. But that's what I was told. If you're not meeting Jimmy, it's not fair to the citizens of Merida. I don't care. Hey, bro, look, and you too, Dice, and all of you out there, my family out in podcast land, listen to me. I got to put my glass off of this, so I want y'all to see my eyes. If I go to prison, I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm going to fight tooth and nail. I'm not going away easy, and I'm not going away quiet. There's no way that I should even be subjected to anything like this, all low. But I promise you, I think that I'm a better writ writer than any these lawyers around here, or most of them. And I promise you, I'm going to wreak havoc on every damn thing that's wrong, everybody that has something to do with it. Do you really want to send somebody like me to prison? You're going to have to lie. You're going to have to cheat. I'm going to fight like tooth and nail. I'm just not going away quiet. I'm just telling y'all that. I'm not going. Damn it, this shit ain't right. It ain't right at all. All this stuff that's going on wrong, and you're going to reward a lot of these people. What Brandon did to me was not right, but she was doing what she was told to do. I want somebody that's going to stand up against unrighteousness. I want somebody to stand up against illegal activities. When somebody tell you to do something illegal, you know it's illegal, and you do it, that's not a good example for our children, and it's bad for our community, and it's not good for our future. Right now, Richard, we don't have a good future. Not right here in Meridian, Mississippi. Not with all the shooting. Not with not anything for our children to do. And I got to say this to you folks out there in podcast land, is that do you realize that when black children are threatened, all children are threatened?
Yeah.
Do you realize that when black children are shooting, everybody's a victim to that? Because a bullet don't have no direction or no name on it. Anybody can be killed by that. If there's nothing for black children to do, there's nothing for white children to do either. If there's nothing for black young adults to do, there's not anything for white young adults to do. You can't keep white folks in a little corral and black folks outside of that corral. How about keeping a viable place for everybody to go to? We need a mayor, Jimmy Smith. It was 3,500 people elected you. But this is a city 10 times more than that. This is a city of 35,000, not 3,500. Jimmy Smith, and then that little smart, I seen the people that donated money to your campaign. I ain't got no problem with that. But the problem is that you cater to the people that donated to your campaign. That ain't what you said. You said we can do better. Now what I'm doing now is appealing to your human decency and everything that was right. Man, God do not like this. If you don't believe in God, then believe in karma. And karma's a B-I-T-C-H. This shit will come back, man. I got to tell a little story, Richard. This is a true story. This is my family here, and I tell you, I love my family. This here is my aunt. Her name was Blase. It doesn't matter what her name is. She was my aunt. It doesn't matter which one of them. But one thing she did is she loved money. She would marry them men, have a child by them, and then they're divorced, and it almost came out then. Let me slow down. Anyway, Auntie would have the money and everything. By the time Auntie hit her 70s, she had a stroke, a mild stroke. And when she had that stroke and everything, she went in and she was able to bounce back.
Yeah.
And this is a true story. She ended up having a stroke and she died. Jimmy, I'm not saying this because I heard you had a stroke. You know my sister loved you. She voted for you and you don't do no wrong. Go and ask my sister or ask Two Better. This is a true story. It's a true story. But anyway, she ended up having a second stroke. When she had her second stroke, it took her whole left side out. She couldn't walk. She couldn't do anything, but she could talk good. And her mind was just as fresh as it was when she was 12 years old. And she watched her children fight over that money. By the time she had her stroke, she had almost $500,000 in the bank. Boy, they fought over that money. They passed her around like she was the lottery. Once they got what they wanted, they took her and dumped her somewhere. And this is a true story. And oh boy, I used to watch my auntie cry, but I was her nephew, not her child, and I couldn't do anything. And that really hurt me because this is one of my favorite aunts. I always was there when Dad went there. And so, but anyway, I had some of my family. When I say my family, understand that I'm talking about my wife, my children mother, go and nurture her when she was in a nursing home and feed her and give her a bath. And so they took her out of there, and finally, by the time it all said and done, it probably went about $100,000 and some, and the children had fought over that. And I have a first cousin once removed, meaning my child's second cousin. My first cousin child once removed was gambling in Alabama, and he won the money, and they robbed him and killed him. And that was like on a Sunday, and so that Saturday, a sister went to the sister's house and tried to make amends about all that stuff. And what happened was, is when she came there, the sister met her at the door. Said, damn it, I didn't invite your ass to my house. Get the hell off my yard. And then my first cousin, her sister went in there about within an hour and blew her brains out. So we had a double funeral in parts of Alabama. And I told that story there, and to this day, that family has not mended based on them fighting on that money.
Yeah.
I said that to say this, is that my auntie was God karma, or whatever you want to call it. My auntie had a stroke, and she watched her children fight over that money, and she couldn't do nothing about it. She watched how she had got all that money, all the things she did that was wrong. God left her mind fresh so she could remember all those things. People, I say this, that you should do all you can to do what's right and do something good, because I promise you, it's in the Bible that you're going to reap what you sow. A lot of you think that it's going to be some kind of reward in afterlife, either through heaven or hell. No, 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 no. Most folk reap what they sow before they die. Richard, you got anything to say on that?
I would say that what he just said was true. I've seen people who have done things like what you just said, and some of the older people will tell you what they did, and then they will tell you, I wished I hadn't did it.
Yeah.
A lady one time, her husband used to do different things, run around and whatever, and when he got sick, she said he begged her to forgive her.
That's right.
It's something hard when you don't know the things that people go through sometimes. We think that we have a little problem, but other people have problems greater.
That's
we
right.
don't know it. We think we have little bitty problems that cause all kind of little ups and downs. But one thing you got to remember, God will always let you get what you need.
And I want to say this too, is that I say things is that if you're gonna take over an administration and you're gonna keep a chief of police, and if you have a police force that can throw trumped up charges on a person, it doesn't. Let's just take Lolo. Let's suppose it was Toolbell. Suppose it was Dolores or Kim out in Indiana, right? Yeah. What if it was her? What if it was you, Richard? What if it was you out there in podcast land? How would you feel about it, Sheriff Barry, if it was you? If a police force, if Percy Bland had ordered his police force to throw trumped up charges on you, how would you feel? That's how you got to look at it, that it could have been me. It could have been me in the wheelchair or with no legs. It could have been me that had what my brother had. It could be me that a diabetic. It could be me that's dead. It could be you too. You got to always look at it could have been you, especially when you're dealing with the law. If you lie for a rogue police force to continue on, it is not good for anybody. What happened to low men and other people that have been falsely arrested under these corrupt police officers or in their incompetent investigation, this stuff needs to be corrected. We don't need Chris Reed. His ass needs to get on down. He needs to go. He needs to go anywhere he want to go. I'm going to tell you, this is another true story, and we're going to take a break. I got in trouble, the stuff when I got an expungement for, I was convicted of taking money from a person, I ain't going to call his name, but anyway, at that time, my attorney was Gene Brown, and I went to Gene Brown, and I had to pay back restitution, total about $67,000. I had to pay that back. And so I tried to get this person to take a lesser amount. I tried to get him to take, and I was smart. I was on probation for 3 years. And instead of paying $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month, I agreed to pay $10,000 down and $10,000 every 6 months. So when my first $10,000 was due, I offered to get this person $30,000. And this is what that person said. He said, I want to see him. And Gene Brown put him on speakerphone and said, Eddie here, you want to see where you if you take a lump sum payment of $30,000 to dismiss write off the rest of the fine. At that time, I probably owed about $50,000 left. And this is what that person said. He said, I want to see him in hell or jail. That's what he said now. He's in hell or jail. It doesn't matter which one. And then Jimmy said, and then Gene just hung and said, he's laughing. He said, well, you heard how I feel about you. Chris Reed, that's how I feel about you. Because that's how you feel about me. I don't give a damn if you go to hell or jail. I just want you to get the hell up out of Meridian, Mississippi, because you're a corrupt cop, and I want you to take your rogue-ass, corrupt-ass police officers with you. You know who you are. Brunel, Rochester Anderson, Laws, Fireplace. All of those people need to go. And there's some other ones that need to go. I don't know all of you, but you know who you are. You know what you're doing wrong. But anytime you trump up charges or you go and put people in jail and all these high bonds just need to go. I'm not with these high-ass bonds. Anyway, we're going to take a break. And before I take a break, I want to say this, that one thing that I think that Jimmy Smith got right is Dustin Markham. If he do anything like his dad did, now, Dustin, I'm talking to you now. Instead of sometimes you got to go according to the heart now. But damn, talking about throwing people away or high bonds and all that stuff, that's not what your dad doing. So what I want to say to you, Dustin, I want to congratulate you on being the next city court judge. And I just got one piece of advice to you. Do it like your dad would do it. If you do it like your dad would do it, you would do a good job. Dice, take us to break. And when we come back, we're going to open up the phone line. Dice? Folks, welcome back to Reaching Out with Eddie. Well, we're talking about the rabbit hole. And folks, I wanted to talk about community development just a little bit more. You know, like when I wanted to, I forgot the name of the church that Marie Franklin is a member of. I was going to, I was going to build that new church for them. It's a structural building now, but they end up paying more money because one thing is that the bank that was going to finance the money didn't want a black person to do that job. And then those of you that don't talk about colors, Marie Franklin can attest to this, and the whole board, including the pastor, because we met with the bank board of directors, and what they wanted was the person that I was going to put up the metal building. They wanted this metal company is owned by this white family or whatever to do it. I forgot the name of it, Reed Metal. They wanted them to do it. And they was also going to do the slab, the foundation. I was going to do all of it. They could come in. I was going to do the slab, but they wanted Reed Metal to do that. And then, of course, the inside, I was going to do that. That's the structure. That's the sanctuary. I ended up not getting into that, but I can tell you that Stephen Red worked for community development. And this is the kind of thing that really bothers me, is that we keep taking unqualified people and putting them over qualified people. And usually when you put an unqualified person over a qualified person is usually a white person, for those of you that don't see color being placed over a black person. Look at history and look at fact. Stephen Red is a black PhD. If Laura Carmichael has a bachelor's degree, she had it from the 1980s. And this man has a PhD. He's a young black man with a recent PhD. He just earned it. So we have somebody that every single fight that I've had, and I know other people, they have a fight. I'm the go-to person. They come get me, Richard, when they want to fight about something, or they're being mistreated by community development. They come and get me, and I go down there with them, and we end up resolving the issue. And I got to say that Laura Carmichael has always been receptive, however, not as receptive as Stephen Red, Dr. Stephen Red, a black male with a PhD that's higher up in the department, but has a white woman over him that does not have the qualification or the education that he has. Okay, so those of you that want to hire the most qualified person, you should be looking at Stephen Red for community development. Because not only is he a black male, he's not from this area, but he came up to this area to make a difference, and he has shown himself to not only do what's right and do what's fair, but within the law. When you have people like Scott Solid, when you have people like Phil down there, these are white people that are down there that go through the inspectors that are actually impeding the progress of black folk. They tell you you can't do this and you can't do that. It's ironic how you can go on like this. The mayor ain't been in the office 3 days yet, but he got public works down there working at his house doing illegal shit. But then you have these inspectors. We can't have a law for me and Lolo, or a law for you out there, but not for everybody else. It ain't nothing special about the Barrys. It ain't nothing special about the Holts, or the Loftons, or the Dices. And I said the Dice, man, because y'all don't need to know his name if you don't know it. But my point out is nothing special, but what the law is the great equalizer. You understand? The law is what makes all of us equal. The law ensures that we are all treated the same and fairly if you go according to the law. Now, I had to talk about Stephen Red because Stephen Red is he's a jewel in the community. The plus is that he's a black male that managed to get a PhD in community development, too, Bill. So we have an opportunity, Jimmy. You don't have to continue down that rabbit hole. Do you realize that this is not a private business, Jimmy? This is not a private business. The city of Meridian, being Mayor Meridian, you're not the CAO of a private company or a private business. You are the mayor of a government or city entity for the people, by all the people. Jimmy, you got to look at it like that. If you don't look at it like that, you'll never pull us out of this rabbit hole. And can we say one term? And we'll say the same thing to the governing authority. Right now, we're proud of you, but we've shown you that we're not going to take this anymore. Now, not all of us vote, but we made sure we got rid of Percy Bland. If you do things that are not for the best interest of all the people in the city of Meridian, you got to go. I'm tired of y'all going to get white folks. You're going to travel that far. How far Madison County from here?
I don't know.
Two Bell said about 1,000 miles. You're going to travel 1,000 miles to go get somebody from Madison County and all these qualified folks between here and there. Now, look. Now, I'm just tell you the truth. I just think there's a lot of white folks more qualified than this guy in Madison County.
I got you.
I just think so, because he didn't keep that job at 8 months. You got to look at people. You got to vet the department heads. Yes, they are appointed at will, at the will of the mayor. But you got to vet them. If it was so easy, then they wouldn't have to come through you. What the people and what the law want you to do is make sure you give the city the most qualified person, not based on how much money somebody donated to a campaign. Now, if the most qualified person happened to donate a lot of money to Robert Ray's campaign or Weston Linderman's campaign or Jimmy Smith's campaign, doesn't matter if he's the most, he or she, regardless of color, is the most qualified person. But that's not what we're getting here. We're not getting that here, folk. Come on, guys. I want to say I appreciate you guys, and we're going to open up your phone lines. So, Dice, go ahead and flash that up. Open up the phone lines. Because I want the most qualified person to get this job. I can't help it if I think that we can find the most qualified person, black, female, or male, white. I got to talk about Rita Jackson is the most qualified black female to be chief of police, and she should be in a leadership position. There's no way of getting around that. If you bring someone back like Chris Scott, I think Chris Scott will do an excellent job in weeding out all the corruption and all the bad things in this city. If you bring back Travis Ruffin, I don't know about Travis. You have other people that are more qualified than him. But one thing I can say about Travis Ruffin, he's more qualified than Chris Reed. I gotta say that. So Bobby Davis, yes, he's more qualified than Chris Reed. Man, I think Bobby Davis would also weed out all the corruption in that police department. But what we cannot is continue to reward people like Anderson or Laws or Fireplace and making them look good and giving people promotions and pat on the back. Shit, scratch my ass too. You know, hell, that don't mean anything. I'm so tired of that. And Lolo be talking about Cindy Shaw Covington. Cindy Shaw Covington. Shut the hell up. You don't mean this city any good at all. We don't need those brown nose and kissing somebody behind trying to make them look good so that you can maintain status quo or keep your folks in place. We don't care about any of that stuff. What we want is to see real change in this community. How can you talk about anybody doing a good job when you look at 6,300 and some plus people that move out of the city of Meridian? You're going to talk about a good job. Oh, black lives don't matter to you. It doesn't matter about Chris Reed whooping Levi Gibbs behind. He was right there and came there when that man was on the ground and everything, and he lied to the city council. None of that stuff mean to you. And then they give token blacks, token Negroes, and I'm trying to be nice, they begin token Negroes positions because they done something illegal and wrong. The Meridian Police Department need an investigation, but you ain't gonna get one under the current administration. They got to go. And when I'm talking about the current police administration, we don't need to get that rascal. You're a rascal, Chris Reed. We don't need to get that rascal 30 days. We need to give him 30 minutes to get his shit out of his office and get the hell out of Meridian, Mississippi. You got anything to say, Richard, before Dice start reading them comments?
All I can say, we got to stop standing around and go to work for ourselves, because if you don't, you'll never have any power to change things. A lot of time, you have to get your own to make things work better for you, because if you keep letting me be your boss, I will pay you what I want to pay you. But when you become your boss, you demand what you're willing to get for your work.
That's right. Dice, man, you ready to read those comments? Okay, go ahead, Dice.
Okay. We got Jim Myrick says, good evening, everyone. I'm sharing your broadcast on my Facebook and Twitter accounts.
Thank you, Jim, and good evening to you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening, Jim. Stacy Dixon says, good evening, everyone. Be safe in this hot weather.
Good evening.
Good evening. We will. You too.
Miss Dixon. Ellen Franklin says, good evening, peeps.
Good evening.
Hey, Marie.
What's up, Miss Franklin? Jim Myrick says, the previous city council gave the persecutor carte blanche, sight unseen. Looking like this city council will not be a rubber stamping governing authority.
And I appreciate that so much. I've actually been harping on that for probably about the last 2 years. I'm the one that came up with the term governing authority. That's actually what they are. I actually read it in the law. True. It is their duty to govern with authority. And this is not a dictatorship, Mayor Smith. Percy Bland and the previous administration thought that there's no such thing as a strong mayoral form of government. It's a strong city council that will make sure that we have a good city and make sure this city is a good place for everybody. This last governing authority allowed for a person to do whatever he wanted to do, and when Western Linderman tried to get an investigation and all that, they voted it down.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be going through any of these things. If that city council had stood up, some of them that's not here would probably be here now.
Okay. Dennis Allen says, tell the truth and shame those devils.
What's up, Dennis Ray? Hey, man, you go get into it the next time we talk.
All right. Yeah. Jim Myrick says, I cannot say I don't see color. I just try to treat everyone equal, no matter who they are.
I like that, Jim, and that's a fair and accurate statement.
Okay, Ellen Franklin says public safety is out at the police training facility, I believe.
And she is correct, and they just should not. It's like a political patronage position. That's a position that you create as a way of paying somebody for supporting you or doing something you want them to do. We got to get away from all those kind of things. Basically, what we need to do is we need to get Mother Dear and put Mother Dear in charge. Mother Dear. We need to get Mother Dear and put her in charge. We need to get Mama. We need to get Grandmama. We need to put these females in charge. Not necessarily a black female, because Rankin Easton and her mother are very strong. And that's what we need. We definitely need that. We need strong females. It's been females, believe it or not, they're the one that bear the children. In other words, they're the one that's bearing all the pain, the burden. So we need to take these females that's not going to do these kind of things and help fix this city. We know who they are. They have already identified themselves. And usually, and what we got to stop doing, folks, we got to stop hiring the least qualified person. We got to start doing what we need to do right for this city so that our children can have a future, Dice.
Dennis Allen says, you can tell when Mayor Jimmy Smith lying. Smiling faces tell lies. Okay. Loretta Bennett says, if we can do better, why Jimmy Smith willing to pay his senior citizen friends $100 to $115K a year while the city continue falling apart and crimes continue to skyrocket?
I don't understand that. I tried to figure that out, Lo. I tried to figure out, Lofton, why would anybody pay someone $110,000 or $115,000 for? They can get a more qualified person with probably take away $40,000. Now this is me speaking, and this is what I'm thinking. I think in those high salaries, when they have these high salaries that they have to take, Donald, whatever his name was, that used to be over MDOC, they was bringing him a brown bag, and that's where I got the brown bag from. I think when you have a high salary like that, I can have my opinions, and this is what I think. I ain't saying it's factual. I reiterate, I'm not saying it's factual, but I think when you have those really high salaries like that they have a way. If you pay me $100,000 a year, shoot, I don't mind giving you $30,000 or $40,000 to it back in a brown sack. See, that way you can't trace and follow the money. Ain't nobody gonna tell on themselves.
No.
Dice.
Okay. Jim Myrick says, through Sherry Berry, I think it is her husband, Rick Berry, who wants you and Lolo Bond over to the grand jury.
Yeah, bound over to the grand jury.
Bound, I'm sorry.
Well, the thing of it is somebody wanted, but that's not fair. If anybody had a kind of power, they could put somebody in jail or either threaten someone within jeopardy of losing their life, and you have other people willing to go along with that, then it's something wrong. Then you have a system that's out of control. Oh, it's okay. It ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. It ain't no fun when it happened to you, too. Dice.
Okay. Dennis Allen says, the ones that created these laws was lawless men. That's why it's easy for them to use double standard.
True.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that, because when you have a constitution, and that's what happened to my belief system. My belief system broke down when I went to trial and got found guilty for something I didn't do. My belief system broke down. It broke down like the Matrix. When you grow up saying the Pledge of Allegiance and believing in the Constitution and believing in law, and when you see people circumvent that law, that is, a lot of people have actually committed suicide and went crazy because the law did not work for them, because you had corrupt peoples, not just at the bottom, but all the way up to the top.
Okay.
That's why voting is important, Dice.
Okay. Let's see here. Johnny Magruder says, why do you groom someone to represent you in Jackson? What you say about that?
A lot of time we do need someone to groom us to make sure that we're able to do the job that they put us in position for. If you don't have the proper training, you cannot do a job right. When you get the proper training, you can do any job. You take the military. They take young people, 18 to 19 years old, and they train them for 6 to 8 weeks, and they can send them on any mission, and they'll get it done.
That's right. Dice.
Okay. All right. Tristan B. Hampton says Jimmy Smith showed his hand when he asked the council why they weren't going to confirm those department heads.
Yeah, Jimmy, you told us that we could do better. And also, anybody that's going to take a job, Jimmy, when you became a police officer, you had to qualify for that position. And I think you made sergeant and detective, and you had to be vetted for that. Is it fair for you to bring forth people to this city for us to, and that's what we've been getting, Jimmy. We already in the rabbit hole. We're already in dire straits. And these people voted for you. Now, I'm not mad at you, because my vote was for sale. Only thing you're doing is showing people how they can't trust someone when they come up and say, we can do better, and won't give a platform and won't do real debates.
Okay, and Loretta Bennett, last but not least, says Christopher Epps.
Yeah, that's his name. He was he ended up going to prison for breaking the law. And it's been judges that went to law, and while it's hard and everything, anything you want to say to the people, Richard, before we close?
I've always seen where you take people in power are so used to having their way. When someone confront them about them breaking the law, they get very angry and very mad. This had happened to me one time. Me and a lawyer got into a dispute. This lawyer said something to me, but because of what I
did, what do y'all take?
All right, we're going to take this caller. Excuse me, Mr. Richard.
Go ahead. That's all.
Caller, you're on the air.
Good evening, peeps. Good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
This is Marie Franklin.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I do want you to let's go over some of these people on this list. Let me try to go over some things that you may have missed, okay? Okay, let's start with Chris Reed. Now, Chris Reed came to the Meridian Police Department in 1999. He left in 2005. And at that time, he was a K-9 handler. He left again somewhere around, he came back somewhere around 2006, 2007 as a senior officer. But he left again somewhere around 2009. And he was only a senior officer, you guys. He came back again in 2012. And at that time, his highest ranking was officer first class as an officer. Now, I believe he left again. I just didn't get it off of his Lincoln account. But we don't know when he took the sergeant's exam and passed. We didn't know that he took no lieutenant exam and passed, nor captain exam and passed. All we know is he was promoted to chief, and he was not vetted. Now that the body now is trying to vet people, there's a problem. No, he don't need to be no captain because he's not the most qualified. Moving on, Hodges. I don't care if he do have a engineer's degree. If you are putting that kind of stock into a man having an engineer's degree over a man who has worked for the city of Meridian for darn near 26 years. Chief Smith has been with the city for almost 26 years. And if you put that kind of stock into that, hire him as an engineer and take one of the current engineers that's on payroll, take them off payroll.
That's right.
But if you're going to give this man $100,000 a year salary and keep the engineers that we are paying and then bump Hugh Smith out of his job, that's not fair. It should not be. It is not right, and we should not want our administrators to start that way. Now, if you're going to hire him as an engineer and you properly vet him, check out what kind of job has he actually had as an engineer. What kind of plan has he drawn up as an engineer? But Hugh Smith, 25, 26 years should count for something this city. Okay, Moving on. Stephen. Okay, you talking about public safety. The public safety job that he has, he is over this police training facility out here by me. Now, how that came about, we have no idea because he has been a firefighter, but he has never been a police officer. Now, you tell me, how did the former mayor put him over a training facility for that belongs to the police department, where that's who train at is police officers, because firefighters do not train over there. And even if they did, he was a firefighter. Why not make him the fire chief? If he already on the job, why are you bringing Tom Miller back? Why not just make this guy the fire chief and then put a police officer over there at the facility? But he has never been a police officer. He has never showed management material. So why are you trying to pay him almost $80,000 a year, and all he has really been is a firefighter? And when right before Bland left, then he made him a /CEO, a CAO. I'm sorry. When old boy left, you know who I'm talking about,
Yeah.
the CAO. So that's he not the most qualified either.
Okay, thank you,
And as
Marie.
far as
Go ahead.
all these other people that you naming, we need to show people why that our council are trying to vet these people in our best interest. And if they are not qualified, I'm sorry, they should not be approved.
I agree. Thank you,
Thank
Marie.
you.
Yeah, and I agree. And the council is doing that. I got to tell you guys doing a great job. You are. I'm satisfied with all of them. The only thing I don't like is the fact that they made George Thomas the city council president. He has nothing to do with the color of his skin. It's the fact that he's the reason. He's been there 30 years or 40 or 50. Too bad say he's been there 100 years. Too bad he ain't about 85. He had to go to college. He had to get out of high school. But anyway, George Thomas, in my opinion, I wouldn't want him to advise me on anything. I'm going to say this to the governing authority. Learn your job. And we're going to take this call here. Go ahead, Dice.
I just wanted to tell you, Hope, exactly. Not only is Rita the most qualified, she's been there the longest, she has passed the lieutenant and the captain's exam, and Pershing did not promote her, but she has passed the exam.
Thank you, Marie. Yeah. But Dice, is there any more comments? Anything you want to say, Richard?
Yeah. A lot of time, what I see is people are making the city taxes have to go up to pay these high price jobs. You don't need to be paying all this money out for no reason whatsoever. That's the reason Russell Lennon was always had a check and balance in his thinking pattern. He made sure the people didn't spend unnecessary money, and he made sure there was money left in the accounts.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Folks, I want to thank y'all for listening in, and we're going to close out this show, and I want to say this to Mayor Smith. Mayor Smith, you can be a great mayor, but you got to be a mayor for all the people, and you got to do what's right. You know what's right, and you know what's legal. And one thing about it is that if you tell us something, we're going to believe what you tell us. But if we look at what you say and what you show us, then if there's a discrepancy there, then what kind of reputation would you have? I'm going to tell you this, is Percy Bland was a liar and he was a thief. And I've always been told when you find a liar, you ain't for you scratch it, it's a thief, and the other way around. But I got to say this, the history will not be kind to Percy. It will not be kind to him. I promise you, if you read what Wikipedia would say about Percy about 6 months from now, they're not going to be kind to him, or a year from now. And I got to say, you can be a great mayor, but you got to be a mayor for all of the people. Understand now, you're writing your story now. What will history say about you? I want to thank you guys for listening in, and we'll see you guys next Thursday, where my guest will be Lolo. Lolo will be here next Thursday, y'all. Y'all be ready to tell somebody to tell somebody. Dice, take us home.